All right, hey everybody, thank you for coming out today. We're here to take a stand against fracking and show the Illinois Department of Natural Resources that there's no such thing as safe fracking. All right, we are Chicagoland Against Fracking, an organization of community members and students who have united around this issue and who are committed to stopping fracking in Illinois. We are working in conjunction with Illinois People's Action and Southern Illinoisans Against Fracturing Our Environment, both of which are downstate. And we are here to tell the IDNR to protect our land, our water, and our communities from the dangers of fracking. All right. Our past meetings and interactions with the IDNR have proven to us that they are not doing their job. Director Mark Miller has refused to meet with the people. The IDNR is staffed by lawyers from the oil and gas industry, and citizen input has been brushed aside and ignored. Boo. Specific fracking regulations are being drafted as we speak, and the oil and gas industry will do whatever it takes to ensure that fracking begins as early as possible. We are here to make sure that this does not happen. We are here to demand not one permit. Not one permit! Not one permit! Not one permit!
Not one permit! Not one permit!
Okay, so first, we would like to remind everybody to please sign in if you haven't already. We're going to start by briefly introducing our first speaker. And so everybody, Sarita's going to do that.
Hey everyone, we are very lucky to have here today the regional coordinator from Food and Water Watch. Food and Water Watch is the organization that organized the global frackdown, and there are global frackdowns going on all over, not just here in Illinois, but all over the world in different places where they're hydrofracking. So without further ado, the regional coordinator here is Jessica Fuyan.
Hi guys. So thank you all for coming out on a not ideal day to fight fracking. I wanted to say a little bit about the frackdown. And so today, on October 18th, thousands of people around the world are uniting through over 250 actions on 6 continents for the 2nd annual global frackdown to raise awareness about the threat of hydraulic fracturing for oil and gas and what it's going to do to the environment. We are part of an international day that's going on now in over 25 countries. We will all send a message to our elected officials around the world that we want a future that is powered by clean, renewable energy and not polluting fossil fuels. There have already been actions today in Mexico, Ireland, South Africa, Spain, Switzerland, in the UK, and here in the US. Woo! In Chicago, we're getting an early start, because we want Mark Miller and all of our friends at the Illinois Department of Natural Resources to be sure they hear our message. There is no such thing as safe fracking. For our water, for our air, for our farmers, and for our future, we want to ban fracking now! Ban fracking now! Ban fracking now! The fracking fight in Illinois did not end when the industry's regulatory law was signed last year. Illinois lawmakers thought they could write the rules to make fracking safe and are passing the buck to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, which is supposed to give away drilling permits. But we know that there are no rules that could protect us from underground wastewater leakage or from the climate change due to venting methane gas. Other states have tried to regulate fracking already, and look where they are now. A 2012 CU Denver public health study found that residents living within half a mile of oil and gas operations were exposed to air pollutants 5 times above federal health standards. Colorado's wave of gas and oil drilling is resulting in spills at the rate of 7 every 5 days, releasing more than 2 million gallons of diesel fuel this year of oil, drilling wastewater, and chemicals that contaminate their water. Full inspections in Pennsylvania have revealed that roughly 9% of the newest shale wells are already leaking. Experts say this rate is likely to get worse in the time since the wells were newly drilled when they began to leak. Is this what we want for Illinois? The risks presented by fracking are unacceptable to us. If anyone should know this, it is the State Department whose main function is to protect our natural resources. So what is worse than fracking's irreparable damage to the lives and private property of Illinoisans? Don't worry, I'll tell you. It's the damage that fracking is poised to cause to our public lands, lands that are declared to be protected as national forests, owned by the commons and supported by our tax dollars. In Illinois, the Shawnee National Forest has been opened for fracking for the profit of the oil and gas giants. If you are made sick by the idea that your land is fracked for corporate profit, it is time to stand up and say so. Not one permit, IDNR, not one drilling permit should be issued for frackers on our beautiful state. We're here to tell Mark Miller that we do not accept this industrial drilling practice. When I say fracking, you say no. Fracking. No. Fracking. No. When I say shale gas, you say no. Shale gas. No. Shale gas. No. When I say solar, you say power. Solar. Power. Solar. Power. When I say people, you say power. People. Power. People. Power. Woo! Woo!
Okay, thank you, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce Beverly Walters. Beverly is an organizer with CAPOW, which is Citizens Act to Protect Our Water. I've come to know Beverly. She's a good friend, and she's a native of Southern Illinois. So give Beverly a round of a hand.
Okay, we'll do that again. Thanks everyone for coming and showing your support. You know, this is one of the most important fights that we could be fighting today, and I'm so glad there are so many people here and so many people waking up. This is a wake-up call. Are we so addicted to fossil fuels and the old way of doing things that we are willing to risk our air, our land, and our water? Are we so addicted to fossil fuels that we are going to hold on to an outdated dinosaur paradigm? Are we ready to move into renewable energy? Because we have to protect our water. We are 70% water. All life is dependent on water. This planet is the blue planet because of water. When the astronauts went up and looked down on the blue planet, they saw really no boundaries. They didn't really see a lot of buildings. They saw water, and it changed their lives forever. And it is up to us now, today, to make sure we protect water forever. Fracking is not the way to go, is it, folks? No! Fracking uses between 1 and 7 million gallons of water for each frack. And a well, here you have a well, can be fracked up to 18 times. And if you think of the thousands of wells that they would potentially bring into Southern Illinois or Central Illinois, there simply is not enough water. There's not enough water for the wells. And this bill, which is now, the infamous Public Act 0980022. It's horrible, isn't it? How numbers can reveal how awful something is. And that act does not protect the state. It does not protect the citizens. It does not protect the water. It has nothing in it which limits the amount of water that these companies can withdraw. Nothing. In other words, water is going to come ahead of agriculture. It's going to come ahead of animals. It's going to come ahead of tourism. It's going to come ahead of people's wells. And does that make a difference? Well, it certainly does, because this dirty, polluted water makes people sick. There are cancer clusters around the water wells in Texas and other states. Is that what we want for Illinois? No! I am from Southern Illinois. Southern Illinois is deep in my heart. If you have never been to Southern Illinois, you have no idea how beautiful that area of the country is. Okay, it's poor, I'll admit that. I mean, I did come up here, right? But it still is a wonderful, wonderful place. And if you go down there, you will realize why it's a tourism center, because it is so beautiful. There's Shawnee National Forest. Anyone been here to Shawnee National Forest? Gorgeous, isn't it? They want to frack in Shawnee National Forest. What we are doing is absolutely insane. Do we have alternatives? Yes. Renewable energy. Solar. Wind. They don't use the water like fracking does. We have alternatives. It is absolutely insane for us to pursue fracking. And what we need to do is not only, those of you who are here obviously have woken up, but keep getting more and more informed, because there are more and more developments every day, more and more opportunities to do something. And one of the most important things that you can do is tell other people. We were down there, we talked to the legislators. Anyone there, were they really listening to us? No. Who were they listening to? The companies, the industry, oil and gas. It will take a movement. It will take every single one of you and every single person that you can recruit. And so I urge you, start now and don't stop until we have a moratorium in Illinois, because every drop of water is precious. In the meantime, everybody, no fracking. No fracking. Renewables. Thank you all for coming.
Louder. The process of fracking has been promoted by the ruling class, namely big oil and gas, as being safe, a solution to peak oil, and a solution to climate change. In reality, the only research that finds fracking to be safe is funded by big oil and gas. Research that is not funded by big oil and gas has found only negative effects of fracking. Fracking causes countless health problems, including cancer. It greatly intensifies climate change due to methane leakage. It creates radioactive wastewater that has been found in drinking water, and fracking has caused earthquakes. Thanks to former Vice President Dick Cheney's secretive energy task force that served the fossil fuel industry, in 2005, fracking was made exempt from the Clean Water Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, and the Clean Air Act. As a result, companies don't have to disclose to the public the toxic chemicals they use. Despite all this, big industry and our government continues to promote fracking rigorously. Why? Because it's In Texas, the amount of water adequate for irrigating $200,000 worth of crops can be used to frack $2.5 billion worth of gas or oil. I believe the environmental crises exemplified by fracking are systemic. We live in the economic system of capitalism, where the fossil fuel industry, along with the rest of the millionaire and billionaire ruling class and the politicians that serve them, is motivated by short-term profit and competition. Human and environmental needs are not factored into business decisions. Our government, instead of protecting the 99%, is furthering the interests of the 1%. Our governor signed the fracking regulatory bill. Our president continues promoting his all-of-the-above energy strategy, which includes the dirtiest fuels and extraction methods that exist, and the IDNR, which has the power to create strict regulations that could ban fracking and protect the people of Illinois, plans instead to serve big industry at our expense. Moreover, environmental destruction is just one of the many problems of the system that we live in. Not long ago, racist corporate education reform closed 49 public elementary schools in black and brown neighborhoods in Chicago. We are still in the ruling class caused global financial crisis of 2008. Thanks to bank and corporate bailouts by the governments, along with extreme austerity measures, profits have returned for the rich. 2012 was actually record profits for the rich. Workers and labor unions have been continually beaten down with low wages, long hours, horrible conditions, union busting, and unemployment, sparking the fight for 15. This system thrives on the injustices of racism, sexism, and homophobia that divide the masses of people and allow the ruling class to continue largely unchallenged. We need to combine forces with other social justice movements and victims of this system instead of competing with each other. The jobs versus environment debate, for example, is an effective tactic of the ruling class. In reality, we don't have to choose between the two. Jill Stein of the Green Party has laid out a plan called the Green New Deal, taking on climate change and the jobs crisis. It places the people and environment before profit. It uses our current fossil fuel workforce, the unemployed and low-wage workers, to transition to a society powered by renewable energy. The fight for living wage jobs and for long-term environmental sustainability can go hand in hand to bring about social change. We need tens of millions of green jobs to build the renewable energy infrastructure and a better public transportation system, among other needs. And according to Chris Williams, activist, professor, and author of Ecology and Socialism, we have the technology that is necessary, and if we start transitioning off fossil fuels now, we could be completely carbon-free and powered by renewable energy sources by 2030. And despite knowing that humans will literally go extinct if we continue down the destructive road of burning fossil fuels, and that we have the technology to stop it, the ruling class does and plans to continue going down the destructive path that they are on. In this way, I find that the environmental crisis unveils the brutal nature and contradictions of capitalism, a system requiring infinite growth in a finite world. Because the problem is the system, the best way to ban fracking and the tar sands and other fossil fuel use is to challenge the system through a mass environmental justice movement from below, forcing the government to give in to our demands. If we take the momentum from the global frackdown and continue to organize and build our movement, we can change our system to place the people and the environment before profit and save our planet.
Before that happens, I also just want to say that the group that organized this rally here today, Chicagoland Against Fracking, we meet on a bi-weekly basis, and we're always looking for more allies, more supporters to grow our grassroots movement here in Illinois. So please make sure that you give us your contact information so that we can get in touch about you getting more involved in the organizing or just attending more of these in the future. So with that being said, we have one final speaker that's really special to us. It's actually, I guess, two speakers. So we have Caro Gonzalez and Raven Roberts here with the American Indian Center. And Raven is a member of the Mi'kmaq Indian tribe, and you might have heard about this, but they were attacked by an army of Canadian police yesterday after months of blocking their sacred land from a Texas-based fracking company. So she, yeah, a number of people were arrested, and they're here in solidarity. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce both Caro Gonzalez and Raven Roberts.
Yeah, so you guys are here in solidarity with them too. Thank you. So yesterday morning, heavily armed members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police descended on a peaceful protest against fracking led by the Mi'kmaq Indigenous Nation, including their allies in the local English and Atlantic Canadian communities. Several people have been shot, and many prominent activists and many members of the local government have been arrested. Okay, throughout this summer, these groups have protested and confronted the right of the SWN Resources, a Texas-based corporation, Shell, to do exploratory tests in advance of fracking, so to threaten their common water, land, and health in Kent County, a few hours east of the Maine border. Over 40 protesters were arrested for nonviolent civil disobedience this summer. In September, tensions flared when the protesters blockaded a compound where SWN was storing several of its thumper trucks used for seismic testing. Ultimately, this action led to the negotiations with the Premier of New Brunswick. These appear to have broken down as the RCMP have, as of yesterday, sought to enforce an injunction filed by the SWN to clear the road of the blockade. The struggle against fracking is one that has seen popular movements rise across the continent and across the world. In New Brunswick, they have seen an unprecedented alliance of groups come together in defense of their shared home and in support of Indigenous rights. This conflict is underscored by the fact that the land on which the fracking is set to take place is considered by the Mi'kmaq to be unceded Indigenous land, and as such, any such extraction without explicit Mi'kmaq consent is illegal. The Mi'kmaq have made it clear time and again they do not wish to see fracking on their land and have issued eviction notices to the SWN. This act of colonialism comes only a day after the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous People filed a preliminary report after his visit to Canada, suggesting that Indigenous rights are the country's most pressing human rights concern. We're calling on the Canadian government to call off the RCMP and negotiate on a nation-to-nation with the Mi'kmaq, calling for an end of fracking both in New Brunswick and throughout North America.
Good evening. I'm glad all of you guys can make it out here. My name is Raven Roberts, and I'm Potawatomi, Mi'kmaq, and Oneida. And this is my grandmother right here. She is Mi'kmaq. This is my Mi'kmaq grandmother. And we came here to support you guys who have been helping and supporting us for a long time. And when we heard what happened yesterday and what was going on, we started calling our uncles and our family, because a lot of our family has been up there helping with the blockades. And we weren't able to get in touch with some of them because I heard that they were arresting some of our elders and they were shooting while our children were out there. And it's just something that they've been doing for many of years. Like the Mi'kmaq tribe, we were one of the first to encounter the Europeans on this side, and well, according to their history. And with that came a lot. And the Mi'kmaq stretch from about upper, for those of you who might not know, they stretch from like upper Canada above like Maine and New York in that area, and they come from the Wabanaki. And those are the people of the Eastern Door. And right now they're working to bring back our culture and fracking and everything that is being done into the land, into every indigenous land. This is just one example and one reflection of what they're doing all around the world. Just one. And there's other people that do this every day, and it seems like here in America it's like a slow death. But you know, Canada is our next door neighbors, and our natives up there, they've really been working together. The same thing happened here in South Dakota. They brought the military out on our children and on some of our, they've been doing some blockades, peaceful blockades. There's a story I want to share with you guys from when this happened, like about, 50 years ago, when the military was coming in on the tribes in Canada. They didn't know what to do, so a man, he had a dream that they would defeat the military with clouds and the children. So what he did was that day, all the children went and got pillowcases and filled it with marshmallows. And all the kids stood on the line, so when the military was coming, the kids threw the marshmallows, but that day they didn't come in, that day. But now they want it. It's the greed, it's the profit, the land. They don't respect to live in natural order. And they should give us our freedom and our right to live off the land, to eat the food that we want. We all deserve to live in peace and to eat right and to take care of our children without getting our elders attacked just because they want to clean water, just because they want fresh fruit, just because they want their natural indigenous food. So I appreciate everybody coming out here. I could say more, I could say less. But all I know is we have to stick together, and what goes around comes around. So that's how it is. Respect, much love for all of you. Never have fear. Stand up. Thank you.
And we got one chant for you guys before we go. It's our land, our water, even deep beneath our feet. Our land, our water, even deep beneath our feet. Land, our water, even deep beneath our feet. Our land, our water, even deep beneath our feet. 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 All right, well, thank you guys so much. Remember, it's just not climate change, it's system change. It's not just social change, it's system change. It's not just policy change, it is system change.